Well, let's go ahead and get started tonight. I want to welcome everybody, and I'm just thrilled to death with the attendance that we've got here tonight. But before we get started, I'm going to ask one of my city councilmen, Alex Faulkner, if he would open us up in prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you so much tonight, and we are so thankful for all of the many blessings that we have here in Cleveland, Lord. You have blessed us so much, and we're just so thankful for that, Lord. We just want to ask you to be with us tonight as we discuss the needs in our community, Lord, and this particular matter. Lord, we just ask for your Spirit to come down and to be present with us, Lord, and help us all here tonight to have the liberty to speak how we feel and to give our real and true opinion. But also, Lord, help us to have discernment as well, that we may not sin against one another or against you, Lord. Again, we just are just so thankful tonight for all that you've given us, Lord. We just ask you to be with us now. Amen.
Amen. Well, as I said, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for each one of you that's here tonight. There's a lot of people that's worked hard on this issue that we've got with the tire landfill. I'd just like to recognize Alex Smith. He's the attorney for the city of Cleveland. He's worked hard on this. Mr. Stephen King, retired Blount County judge, he partnered with Alex, and they wrote the brief that's at the court system now, and he'll come up in a little bit and tell you about that. Also, Scott Holmes has worked hard, Kathy Hoover, Steve Pass, Dr. Gene Gosling, and Mr. Robert Bellamy. Is that how you say that? Bellamy. They've all worked hard, and many others out here in this office behind the scenes has worked hard on this. So I'd like at this time to call Alex Smith, the attorney for Cleveland, to come and him and Robert King. And then after that, after they finish, I would like Steve Pass to come up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Smith, and retired Judge Steve King. Many years ago, Steve's dad appointed me the judge in Cleveland. It was 1980. That's how long I've been involved in some capacity with the town of Cleveland. Steve and I submitted the brief on behalf of the town. It was due a couple of weeks ago, and B&B has until Wednesday week to submit its brief. I want to give you a quick rundown of why we're here. B&B's filed 4 applications for this very same tire landfill since 2018. The first one was withdrawn. The second one was filed in 2024. That was denied by the county commission. B&B appealed that decision, which is an issue in our brief, and that appeal was pending in the circuit court here in Blount County all during the time that the 2025 applications were processed by the county commission. While the appeal from the 2024 denial of the application was pending, B&B filed 2 applications in 2025. The commission rejected the first one as being incomplete. They accepted the second one, which ended with the vote in August approving it. The law requires that, upon approval of a landfill application, the applicant has to file what's called a declaratory judgment lawsuit. That's filed also in our circuit court. B&B filed that declaratory judgment application, and it was heard. The case went to trial in November. The judge affirmed the county commission's decision. Basically, the affirmation by the trial judge on the pending case was simply on whether or not the commission followed the procedural rules that are required under our Solid Waste Act and the state's Solid Waste Act. We filed notice of appeal end of December. I think it might have ruined B&B's Christmas. And that case went to the Alabama Court of Civil Appeals pursuant to our rules. And as I said a while ago, their brief is due to be filed next Wednesday. Shortly after we filed our notice of appeal, B&B cross-appealed against the town, alleging that the judge should never have allowed Cleveland to present, be part of the declaratory judgment case. We had a separate hearing on that while the declaratory judgment was pending, and Judge England, a retired, actually Supreme Court judge, was assigned this case. Judge England is from Tuscaloosa County, and but he allowed the town to be in the case. That's called intervention, and in its cross appeal, B&B is saying we should never have been allowed to intervene in the case. It was a complicated appeal, very technical procedural requirements under our local Solid Waste Act. Blount County amended its solid waste law in January of 2025. And it requires that an applicant do certain procedural things in order for the county commission to be in a position to vote to approve that application. And it's part of that procedural application part or process that we're challenging on appeal. And Steve, you want to talk briefly about the three issues that we've got on appeal? And we'll answer any questions that anybody's got within reason. We have a pending appeal, and there's some aspects of this that I don't want to talk about until after all of the briefs have been submitted. But you think it'd be good to go over the...
We can. Let me say this. I'm happy to be here, and I'm thankful for the town and Alex letting me participate and be involved in writing the brief. I want to say this on Alex's behalf. Once you have a trial, you get a transcript, and you have a court reporter takes everything down. And when you do a brief, you got to get that transcript, and you can read over the whole trial. And I don't know how many of y'all were at that trial back in, was that in October? November.
Several were.
But I just want to compliment Alex of what a great job he did in that trial. And you really realize that after you go back and you read the transcript of all the issues and things. And you may be sitting there at times and thinking, why do you ask this question? Why do you do that? And it makes a difference. And he just did an excellent job. I just want to
well, you realize how many times you said,
Well, let me bring that up. But, so he did a great job, but I'm happy to participate and being allowed to. Our three issues, Alex kind of mentioned a little bit about them. The first issue is we think the law is that B&B should not have been allowed to file their application and even file the declaratory judgment, because there was already a pending declaratory judgment. The law in Alabama is you can't have at the same time, two declaratory judgments or lawsuits, if you will, involving the same parties, and the same issues, and that's what they did here. They already had a pending lawsuit involving the county and B&B, and involving the same tire landfill, same site, same location. And so we think the law is that as long as that was pending, and it was, and Alan said it was pending until after the trial and after the judge made his decision in this case, that lawsuit was still pending. It didn't get dismissed early December?
Well, it was within a week after the judge ruled.
Okay, it was probably right, yeah.
Toward the end of November.
We think that was just not allowed by the law, and that's one of the issues we brought up to the appellate court. The other issue, the second one is we certainly, I know you do, disagree with the manner in which the commission conducted the application process. We got one issue, the law in Alabama is very strict. I say strict, it sets out what you must do, the time frames you must do it in, and these kind of things. One of the things is B&B is supposed to submit a complete application. We think that's, the word complete has certain meanings. It's supposed to be, again, complete. That should be everything they get to submit to the county, the application. It shouldn't have lacking anything, all right? One of the reasons for that is because after the public hearing, where the public gets to come and say whatever you want to say, the law says after that meeting, the public doesn't get to submit anything additional. And so it's our position that the law is, you go before the county, you submit your application, it should be complete, you don't submit anything else. That gives the public time to look at that application, to see what's in there, what the people want to do, where they're going to do it. You get the opportunity to go and speak, or have whatever say so you want to. After you do that, that ends the public comment period from both sides. And then the commission then is supposed to look at everything and make the decision. All right. One, they didn't submit a complete application. The day they voted, they submitted 2 additional reports that nobody got to see it before it was submitted to the county. It wasn't made public. I don't think before they mentioned it, but nobody had a copy of it. I know Dr. Goslin later wrote a letter responding to those 2 reports. But we think that was wrong to let them submit additional information. And they admitted during trial, one of the things, they used that in their consideration, the county did. We think that's wrong. Another issue is I took issue with the manner in which they conducted the public hearing. I think 2 minutes is simply inadequate to allow someone to express their concern. I know the mayor spoke, we listed several concerns that the town has. I mean, a list, it took 2 pages, I don't know how many it was out, 15 or 16. He had time to mention, I think, 2 things, which we think is just wrong, that you've got to, the law is you got to have a meaningful hearing, a meaningful time and manner. We said they didn't do that. Another thing, like I said, the law is very clear. There's certain time limits. They have time limits when they're supposed to post and notify publication about hearings and things. And we say one of those time frames they missed. You're supposed to notify more than 30 days, right, before the hearing. They didn't get that done. And so, then the last issue we took issue with is that we don't think the commission themselves considered the 7 factors that are required to under the law when you go to citing a landfill. There's things about public safety, traffic, roads, I can't remember what all they are, the water issues, and we don't think they adequately or properly considered those 7 factors that the statute requires. We think it requires more than just saying, oh, I thought about it. We mentioned it. There's things we think the consideration actually means. You've got to look at it, look at all sides of it. The mayor brought up, I guess during trial, about the 4-way stop up here. that, and I'm not an over-the-road truck driver, never driven an 18-wheeler, but I've gone through that four-way many, many times, and I don't know which way you come or go, but I don't think an 18-wheeler can turn left or right without going into the oncoming traffic lane and stuff, and things like that, but we don't think the county considered. So those are our basic three issues.
If
Go ahead.
you're not a truck driver,
That's right.
so, but I still wanna see a tractor-trailer truck and a school bus pass each other on Hazel Ridge Road.
Right,
As-
without going in the ditch.
Without going in the ditch.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And we brought that up.
yeah. We don't, let me say this, and I'll be quiet, and, Alex worked hard on this brief, and there's a lot of issues and things, and we don't know what the outcome's gonna be, don't know what the court's gonna do, but I certainly do believe that giving the court something to think about. If they read our brief and look at things, there's some issues they've got to, look at and make a decision about.
Gene, if anybody has any questions, we'll be glad to answer them within, like I said, within the caveat that
Yeah.
can't talk too much about this.
I appreciate y'all are doing what you're doing, but through all of this process, do you think, can you give us some hope that you can completely stop the landfill, the tire dump?
Well, I guess my first comment to that would be that, it's very difficult to overturn a trial judge. Just from the basic, from starting from the beginning. So it's not gonna be an easy battle. Now, we think we've got a very good argument for the court to just send this all back and have B&B start a fifth application, if that's what it's gonna result in. I don't wanna give you false hope, I don't know, it's just hard to overturn a trial of court, that's all I can tell you. Disappointed in the outcome when the commission voted. That put the town of Cleveland and its citizens and the community here at an extreme disadvantage. But as Steve pointed out, there are certain things that B&B was required to do, certain things the commission was required to do, and we believe that we've got some strong arguments for the court to overturn what the trial judge did. So we're gonna fight one battle at a time. That's not much assurance, I know, but. Yes, sir.
My question is, you said you had 3 points that y'all are going to them about, and the first one, my question is, if you win on the first point and they agree with you, what's gonna be the outcome? Is that basically just gonna push them back and they're gonna have to start their application over from the beginning?
That's correct.
Alright, so, if y'all win, basically what y'all are trying to say, we're not out of the woods, it just means we'll have to start over.
That's correct. You know, the law is that had Judge England found that there was some problem with the procedural, parts of what the commission, allowed to take place during that application process, or in their decision making. The law is it would go back to the commission, and give them an opportunity to correct those deficiencies. And that's basically what, they're gonna have the right to file another application, if we prevail on that. And you're spot on with what your point, and that is if we prevail on issue number 1, the court's probably not even gonna look at the others, because they don't need to, because the second declaratory judgment should not ever have been filed.
In other words, reverse and remand?
reverse the decision and remand it back to the county commission?
Well,
I think it would do away with with the last application.
Right.
It'll just void the last application. They've already dismissed the appeal. They did that after Judge England ruled on the pending case, so, they would have to start over, in my opinion.
right. And there's nothing in the law, they start over, they can file another application, you turn down, there's no, limitation upon how many applications they can file, or really how often, I don't think. That's B&B or anybody else.
Right. Yes.
I'm old, I went to school in the eighties, okay, but we can do 100%.
What report were you referring to, what'd you say?
The ADM funding report, 2021, 38% won't reach the rate cut to 100%.
I couldn't hear him, I'm sorry.
He's talking about this green piece of paper, one of these piece of paper.
Oh.
Yeah, he's talking about this pink paper.
Okay,
Oh.
the pink paper,
I'm just trying to figure out where the rest of the percentage is.
Well, let me say, I don't know what you're looking, I don't think that has anything to do with the appeal and the
No,
brief and things that we did.
it
So
has, I'll speak about the tonnage in a little while.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The timetable is not in effect if the judge's decision when they get filed further application. If we win, you said they're gonna file another petition, does that override what we always have went by? That it's gotta be a certain timetable?
Tommy, we looked at that, and there doesn't appear to be a time frame between applications. I even heard the same things that you and I've talked about this before. There's a penalty that the applicant incurs by filing more often than.
Within 18 months.
Within 18 months. They just have to pay an enhanced, filing fee in order to file more often than every 18 months.
Yes, sir.
Does, every time that he files an application, does it go before the solid waste committee again before it goes to the road commission?
Yes.
I think that's
Yes.
right. I
That's
think
correct.
at some point in time, it's got to be referred to them.
That's right.
for-
Both entities have to see it and give their opinion on it, is that correct?
Right, the Solid Waste Authority makes a recommendation to the commission.
That's
And
not binding.
It's
on
not,
the
it's
commission.
not, it's not a binding recommendation, but you're right. They're supposed to consider it prior to the commission voting on it. So the commission would have the benefit of our own Solid Waste Authority's recommendation.
Alex, thanks. The 18-month rule about the reapplication, is that in writing, verbatim, or is that just up to administrative review by the commission?
That's in the code or the,
It was a written
it's in the
code?
code
in
or
writing.
the 10-year plan.
Written code?
It's in the state code. And again, remember, it's not, they just have to pay a higher application fee.
Is the fees, are the fees outlined as such too, or is that administrative discretion?
I couldn't hear you.
I think the initial fee is, if somebody knows it, is 10% of what ADM charges once you file the thing with ADM, okay? And then if I remember correct, the penalty, if you do it within 18 months, is it double that or half
It's
of
at
it?
least double.
It's at least
It's
double,
either
if
20%
it might be more.
or, and maybe half, I don't know, but
And the
it's
recipient of that fee is who?
county commission.
The county commission of Blunt County. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any history of an enterprise like this trying to start in the state to do tire landfill that has lost their appeal and has, taken their wagon and gone on down the road? Just a prior case?
Steve,
I don't
don't know. There are not a lot of these cases. Luckily for us, there were 2 or 3 that had some good law, involving, a municipality, and a solid waste, procedure.
There's not a lot of places the county commission fails you out either.
I'm sorry, sir, what?
There's not a lot of places that the county commission fails you out. When
Well,
you don't even live here in Cleveland.
That medical.
it's a unique situation by the location of this proposed landfill. Because it's in the town's police jurisdiction, the town's obligated to provide multiple municipal services, and gets no financial benefit. The tipping fee that goes to the county, doesn't come to Cleveland. It's a unique situation. May make some law on that aspect of it.
What it really comes down to is the commissioner's vote. Just like, medical waste, when they voted it down, that killed it, he left.
You're right, 100%.
He did, but he
could
can come tomorrow and make another
Yeah,
application.
he can come forward.
There's no, prohibition against
Since
that.
the commissioner voted it down, he probably knew there was no point.
Well, okay.
It really comes down to commissioners, what they do.
I didn't address, in my opening remarks, kind of where we are. Steve and I have 3 weeks, after B&B submits its brief, to file a reply brief and also to address their challenge to the court that Cleveland was improperly allowed to intervene in the case. So that means we'll submit our brief 3rd week of May. Absolutely have no idea when the court would get to it to render a decision. Got any feeling on that?
I don't. I
Yeah.
have no idea. No.
We're hoping they'll hang their hats on issue number 1, and it could be a quick appeal, but we don't know. We think we've got some very good law on the fact that B&B had 2 cases pending on the very same issue, involving the very same parties at the same time, in the same court, frankly, in front of the same judge. Judge England had been assigned to hear the appeal from the 2024 denial of their applications. Very unusual, so. Yes, ma'am.
What's stopping B&B, if the commissioner's already authorized, what's stopping him from starting to operate?
Well, before you can, operate, once the whole thing with the county is completed, and if it was completed and the ruling in their favor, they've got to go in front of the ADEM. And they've got to make an application with ADEM and get a permit through ADEM before they can come in. So, they don't even go to ADEM until you finish with this whole process that we're involved with now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Let me tell you people, we are blessed to have these 2 guys on this case. I know them both very well, and we're blessed. But let me clarify, if y'all will permit me to clarify a couple quick things. The Solid Waste Authority
was reviewing only the permit application, okay? They weren't reviewing anything related to the environmental issues of this landfill. And they did in fact send a recommendation to the Blount County Commission to not approve this, okay? That recommendation was swept away, and this thing was approved. So, the solid waste, matter of fact, I got calls from them wanting to know what exactly were the technical issues here after this, but let me move on to the next thing. First of all, we're gonna be talking about some, technical things. The legal issues are extremely important and moving along well. The technical issues are the other side of this, as Steve was saying and Alex was saying. You've got the legal approvals, which have to follow a certain course. At this point in time, ADEM makes the final determination here. ADEM. Now, most of you I don't know. I built an environmental engineering company and other companies, ran it for a long time and dealt with ADEM for many, many years. And they're good people, but sometimes they go astray a little bit in some of their decisions. So the ultimate objective here is for the people to get involved in this. It won't be us, it won't be the legal stuff that wins this case, okay, in its entirety. It's you guys. And it is extremely important that y'all spread the word. We're gonna have more meetings like this as this moves along, and it's gonna start moving in a fairly rapid pace. But we need more people involved, and Diane and Kathy have provided for y'all on the back table these letters, stamped envelopes. It's extremely important that y'all go ahead and take the time and file that with ADEM. They're extremely sensitive to people. The average Blount County can make a tremendous difference in this case here. And I wanna, please, as we go into the technical stuff, please raise your hand if you have any questions. Let's hear what they are and so forth. Now, this discussion tonight is not about whether or not, yes ma'am.
So you said that the solid waste people that, didn't recommend them, they don't consider the environmental concern?
No, I didn't. It depends on what's submitted to them, okay?
So why don't they consider environmental?
Well, this was an application that was submitted. They have certain procedures. So the next, the environmental issues involved may come before them, okay? We're just now getting over to that part. And that's what you're gonna hear about tonight, which is important. But the discussion tonight is not about landfills in general being bad. Mankind has operated with landfills for centuries, okay? Some are good, some are not good. Solid waste landfills and so forth, entire landfills are scattered about. And if they're operated properly, there's a place for these things, okay? The point here today is that this location is the worst that they could have picked from an environmental perspective. Totally. Okay? And I've been in this business, I'm retired now, but I've been in this for years and years. It's terrible. I'm going to introduce to you in a little while a fellow that worked for me for many years, Bob Bellamy. He's sitting right up front here. Bob is one of the most competent hydrogeologists that you will find, and in my opinion, the best in that state of Alabama. He's going to talk to you about why the environmental issues, some of them, are so important, okay? So we want to be sure that we get the right focus here on the location of this and not just fighting tire landfills. Even though I may not like them, Cause I've closed several of them, 4 of them as a matter of fact, in my career, and they're very difficult, they contaminate a lot of groundwater, and they're very expensive to deal with after the fact. The counties and cities involved that I've done work for from an industrial perspective lost a lot of money on those deals. Now, go ahead and put that back up. I wanna call your attention to this diagram you've been looking at. Scott and I have been working pretty closely as have Kathy and Diane, and he brought this diagram to my attention about 2 weeks ago, and I knew we had to discuss this in the meeting here.
It's pretty simple. Oh, there you go. It's a black screen.
That's a good one. Okay. All right. There you go. Okay.
Okay.
You saw this when you came in, all right? That's the cut. What you see in blue here is a 100-year floodplain with the 2 major creeks that flow around here. And they're very close. In the center of all of this is a landfill, proposed tire landfill. Now I'm gonna stop right there and ask Scott to come up and get you a little bit oriented on this thing, and where things are.
I'm Scott Holmes, I live on Hazel Rig Road. It's pretty simple. This is put forth by FEMA, and it's to identify flood zones, in case you need to know if you live in one, for your insurance purposes. So this, obviously the blue area, that's the flood zone. The new Cleveland well is right here. Okay, that's where the new drinking water well that we're concerned with becoming contaminated is cut. This is the driest spot. It still has water on it, and later I'll show you a drone video footage of this. I think it's better if you can kind of put your eyes on it and really know what we're dealing with. Quite a few bodies of water here, very large bodies of water here, and then the cut goes all the way around to the back side. This is what used to be Alabama guardrail, if y'all are familiar with that. So anyway, it's the severity of if tires, if solid waste is disposed of in this cut, if there's already standing water in the cut. I'm not a hydrogeologist, but pretty certain, based on the water levels, it doesn't dissipate much. It's pretty substantial, stays there. Pretty sure it's very consistent with this flood zone in this lower land. If this water, all this ground was fractured, a lot of y'all are familiar with when this used to be a strip pit, right? I know Mr. Ford is. They shot this thing like crazy to get down, go the high wall to get the coal out. So it fractures all of this ground. Really, I'm not a hydrogeologist, but I don't know with this water which direction it goes if it doesn't go every direction because it's inside of a bunch of fractured ground. This is Hazel Rig Road. So if he was to enter his site, he would come down one, Hazel Rig, come up in here, come around the back. This is where he plans on starting based on what we've been told. This is the Calvert Prong behind Diane and Sean's property right here. To kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about with the dangers of this water seeping through the ground, getting into the river from the Calvert Prong, getting into the Andy Branch or Dry Creek that runs over by the park. Any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
Did you say along the bottom? I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you when you were talking about all those along the bottom of the screen.
You're talking about right here?
No, along the bottom of the screen.
Oh, okay. This is County Road 1. This is Hazel Rig Road. So the entrance was he would come in here, and he turns up and goes across the back, I'm assuming, because he's supposed to enter here, according to what they told us. B&B has purchased, like this section's theirs, this section's theirs. Kathy, did he get a lease on this from the Whitmires? There's a pending lease or something laying out there?
Well, he's had a lease agreement he got in 2018, but it was in default, just for that upper,
This section here.
yeah, just for this, upper portion from right here on up. He wants to lease that from the Whitmires.
Just to start here, and
Yeah.
he was gonna give them,
He was gonna give them a percentage of his tonnage,
Yeah.
to lease this section right here.
so that's kinda laying out there. There you go. I think that's a big thing. Back. Y'all got any more questions on that?
Hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Is his idea to go up on top of the high wall and drop them in?
You know,
That, the night we had that meeting, he said we were gonna start on the Hazelrigg side. I didn't start jumping right in and not off the high wall.
this is all
That's what I
old strip
thought.
pit reclamation, so that's about a 65 to 100 foot high wall.
That's it.
I'm assuming to get this overburden to fill the cut,
Yeah.
that you'll take it from the top, I'm assuming, I don't know.
That's what I was wondering.
Push into the cut.
Yeah.
So, common sense, I mean, water runs downhill, right? You start filling this up, and you'll see when I have some drone footage, there is a lot of water.
It's deep.
So, that water's gonna be dissipated down towards the well side.
Where is the actual well site, the new well site?
Right here, right under where it says zone A.
Can you point out the direction of flow into wetlands?
For the Andy Branch, the Calvert?
Yes.
This is the Calvert?
Which direction is it go?
Generally from the, right there.
Northeast, southwest.
Yeah, northeast, southwest.
Yep.
And the stream is
From
north?
that cut, it'll drain down towards, the Hazelrigg girls out,
Towards Diane.
the Diane.
And then the Andy Branch runs back toward County Road 1, and so does Dry Creek, and all the way back to County Road 1 to the park.
I mean, that's top water now.
Yes, sir.
That's top water on top of that one towards her house. Now, down in that cut, I have no idea what's wet.
Let me make a comment about this, and Bob's gonna address this in more detail. People often think of water running north to south sometimes, downhill, whatnot. But we're dealing with a formation here, the Pottsville, where Barbara's gonna get into formation, that furnishes a tremendous amount of water for much of Alabama, okay? And because of the nature of this thing, that water could actually be, in that formation, could be moving in any direction, right? So, to figure that out, as has been suggested to ADAM, we took Mayor Sullivan, Scott, Kathy, Bob, we went to see ADAM, set up a meeting in November of last year. We took all the data, left them with this report, to discuss the issues with them, where this was and how concerned the Cleveland citizens of Cleveland were. So that track's going. But when you look at that diagram up there, just because the rivers are flowing from northeast to southwest, doesn't mean the groundwater is flowing that way. Okay. So, with that in mind, Kathy, I'd like to ask, are you about done? Okay, Kathy, come on up. Kathy has done a tremendous amount of work on this, and carrying out all the details that needed to be done to get the conclusions that we reached.
Yeah, and I was, I get a little emotional about it because, I feel like it's been really wrong how the commission has handled this. I'm gonna ask you guys to bear with me. I might have a little trouble reading this. I'm getting lined up for cataract surgery, so hang in there with me. And I was gonna come in here and really kind of chew out the commission, but I'm gonna kind of back off on that. But I believe we are here tonight because we are all fighting to protect our drinking water and other public safety issues, because I feel our commissioners failed to do their job. With the exception of Chase Moore, I feel any issue that comes before our commission, no matter what it is, public safety should be first and foremost. It wasn't that way with this case, with the B&B landfill.
Is there bill forward first?
There, Judge King had said, there has been applications submitted beginning in 2018 all the way through 2025. All 4 of these applications did not meet the requirements of Alabama Code 222748, nor were they consistent with the solid waste management 10-year plan. This was not a one-time fluke or a one-time mistake. Like I said, we've had 4 applications submitted. Why would our commissioners vote on 3 separate occasions to accept these applications as being complete? And why would even some of the commissioners vote to approve incomplete applications? Why would they do such a thing? What would motivate them to do this? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know, to me, it doesn't pass the smell test. I think the citizens of Blount County deserve better. I think we can do better. I think holding these commissioners accountable equals voting them out of office, with the exception of Chase Moore. Now, I would even go further, because like I said, I get really riled up about this. My personal opinion is they should all be impeached. And I think there are grounds to support that. And I'll lay off of them, but I was really going to rip into them. Okay, the tonnage issue. We have obtained 5 years of the quarterly tonnage reports that B&B has to submit to ADM. And we calculated the percentage of the tires coming into the Hayden landfill. And the percentage of out-of-state tires and the percentage of in-state tires. In 21, 38% of the tires were from out-of-state. In 2022, 44% of the tires came from out-of-state. 23, 39%, 24, 42%, 25, 35%. The first quarter of 2026, 38% of these tires have come from out of state. I don't want our county to be the dumping ground of other states, to dump their tires in your and my backyard. The citizens of this county deserve better. Okay, it's not a district issue. This is a county-wide issue. It concerns all the citizens of Blount County. We know Mr. Adams has been saying that he only has 2 years left to operate the Hayden site. Except he's been saying that since 2018, and he's still operating over there. Again, the citizens deserve better, we can do better, but we need commissioners that put Blount County and its citizens first. Let's make Blount County great again.
Yeah.
Okay, I have been corresponding with ADM. I sent a letter advising them that the 2025 application that B&B submitted was being appealed by the town of Cleveland. I also advised them that B&B has purchased 89 acres in 2025 adjacent to the Hayden landfill, and that land would allow B&B to expand the operations at the location should ADM deny the Cleveland site, and that there was no need to establish a tire landfill in Cleveland and take the risk of contaminating your new drinking water well. There's no need for it. I also discovered a very concerning letter from LaBella Associates, who is working on behalf of B&B. This letter requested a waiver of siding requirements, specifically the requirement to conduct February, March, and April water table measurements as part of the hydrogeological evaluation, ensuring sufficient cell base grade separation from the uppermost water-bearing zone at the proposed Cleveland site. This is a crucial requirement to determine groundwater levels. This request from LaBella was dated December the 19th, 2023. 2023. Yet B&B did not obtain approval from the Blount County Commission until July the 8th of 2025. 2023, they requested a waiver, but they did not even have approval from Blount County to proceed with the siting of this dump. It appears this request was very premature. It doesn't make any sense, and it's very concerning. I also discovered that an ADM memorandum dated December the 22nd, 2023, 2 days after they got the letter from LaBella requesting the waiver, where ADM performed a site visit to Cleveland. They came up to the site 2 days after they got a request for a waiver. I sent a letter to ADM on April the 3rd requesting the status of this waiver request and copies of any documents from ADM responding to LaBella's waiver request. I also requested any reports or documents as to the site visit performed by ADM. To date, I have not received a reply. But to request a waiver of a siting requirement 2 years practically before you even get approved by the county, it's a very concerning issue, very concerning, and I will follow up with them until I get an answer. And Gene talked earlier, on November the 20th of 2025, myself, Scott Holmes, Mr. Sam Howell from the Friends of the Locust Fork, Mayor Sullivan, Dr. Goslin, Mr. Bob Bellamy, went to ADM in Montgomery. We presented that drone video and additional information that the Cleveland site is the worst location for a tire landfill. Our visit made a difference. You could see it on their faces. So, today, I'm asking for your help. You can make a difference. You can make your voice be heard. It's important that we have pushback from a vast number of people. We've put together pre-addressed, postage-paid envelopes, ADM contact information, and talking points in opposition of the tire dumping in the Cleveland area. We're asking you to please take the time to write a quick letter to ADM using the talking points in green, or you can use your own regarding the opposition to this dump. You can also send an email. I promise you it will make a difference. I would like to take time now to personally thank Mayor Sullivan, Attorney Alex Smith, Judge Stephen King, and the Cleveland Council members for filing this appeal on the declaratory judgment. And I want to thank all the people who worked hard to prevent the citizens of Blount County and the citizens of the town of Cleveland from being the ones who suffer the consequences of this injustice, and stop the commission from attempting to ram this down our throats. Again, I want to thank all of y'all who showed up tonight. It matters. It truly does matter. So, there are talking points. I'll go over just real quick with you some good stats. The well is located roughly 3,100 feet from the beginning where he's going to start dumping the tires. Like Dr. Goslin said, the Pottsville Aquifer transverses the proposed landfill site and the well. ADM was involved in funding and siting this well. ADM assisted in the funding, and they assisted in where exactly to put this well. You may want to ask ADM how they could fund and site a well and then approve a tire landfill practically on top of it. Be a good question. Tire rubber contains more than 400 chemicals and compounds and heavy metals. Many of them are carcinogenic. Closed strip mines are known to be a very acidic environment. There's a chemical called 6-PPDQ in tires that has been proven to be very toxic. B&B supposedly sprays these tires once every 7 days with a pesticide called malathion. And Bud Adams himself said they use the drip method, which means they just spray malathion up and hope that it blows over there on all these tires so the mosquitoes won't develop in them. This airborne movement can cause these chemicals to settle on non-target areas such as surrounding vegetation, property, or water sources. Malathion is toxic to beneficial insects, pollinators, birds, aquatic species. The World Health Organization has listed malathion as a probable carcinogenic. The United Kingdom has banned the sale of malathion in the year 2002. The second issue you might want to talk to ADM about, right to ADM, is the traffic safety. Mr. Adams stated he expects 60 trucks a day to come in. That's 60 trucks in, 60 trucks out. Tractor trailer cannot make that turn on the, without entering the oncoming lane at the four-way stop of 160 and 231. We all know that for a fact. School traffic is a very top concern. Cleveland schools and the sports field are only 1.5 miles from this site. Parks and recreation, Cleveland Town Park and the baseball fields are only 1.73 miles from this site. Cleveland soccer field and the fishing park is 1.45 miles from the site. The multipurpose ag center where we are today, which conducts spring and fall fairs, rodeos, and other events year-round, is 1.28 miles from the site. Calvert's Prom, the Little Warrior River, is only 2,594 feet from this site. Andy Branch is only 2,301 foot from the site. Dry Creek is 1.03 miles from the site. And we have a new proposed RV park, which is only 1.12 miles from this site. Those are just a few things. If you'd like to send that to ADM and let them know how close all this outdoor activity is going to be to this site. And I think that probably wraps me up.
Kathy, on the tonnage.
Oh, yeah.
It's by word of Bud. They do
Yeah.
not have scales.
Yeah, Bud, B&B, and Hayden, they do not have scales. They do not weigh the tires that come into that landfill. They supposedly count the tires.
Yep.
But this tonnage report is accurate. I obtained all the tonnage reports off the ADM website. So, like I said.
But it's his word that he's dumping X amount of tonnage there.
Yeah.
You know, nobody knows.
Nobody knows exactly how much tonnage
Right.
is really going on over there. Yeah, Pam?
When my husband and I went out there 25 with the county truck for 2 hour period of time, Miss Adams drove down and wanted to know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And she guessed we were counting trucks. Counted 14 in a 2 hour period of time. And she said, and those aren't all ours, but some of those are ADM. They're picking up things they're done illegally and bringing them here. And I'm wondering if those are counted.
Yeah. We don't know.
Nobody knows.
We don't know.
Thank you, Kathy.
On your tonnage information, you got that from ADM?
It came off, yes.
Okay.
It came off the ADM side.
Right. Do we have any information of how much tonnage actually comes from what county?
He doesn't break it down. He only breaks it down on his quarterly tonnage reports by in-state and out-of-state. But we all know Buck County probably doesn't generate the number of tires that Jefferson County does. So, but the fact that we've got that many tires coming from out of state should make everybody angry. Everybody.
But it could be more.
It can be more, and it might be more.
Probably
We do
isn't.
not know. But when he first started one of his applications, right now he's bringing in 500 tons a day in Hayden. At one point, he requested 1,000 tons a day at the Cleveland site, but he's backed off on that. So it might be more than 60 trucks in and 60 trucks out too. We don't know that. Yeah.
You're right. ADM gives him the operation parameters for a day up there. Say 500,000 tons per day. Okay. Who is responsible for administrating that without scale to know that the time period that I was there counting trucks, I saw also vehicles going in with trucks that had, skid steer, treads on it. He can take in, conveyor belts, old conveyor belts, anything in the rubber industry. Once he gets this okay, but if they give him the permit to bring in so many tons per day, then he should be liable, or they should be liable for keeping up with that, not just, an end report.
Quarterly.
Is it something that's just okay to count on? That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense. I mean,
I agree, but on average, between 35 to 45% of these tires are from out of state. That's 1/3 of the volume of tires being dumped right now in Hayden are from out of state. Now, the only way we're gonna stop that is go to Montgomery and talk to Governor Tuberville when he gets in office. Yeah.
Hey, Kathy,
Kathy,
Kathy, I just wanna, you just jogged a few things for me, and I wanna make sure that there's some people here, new faces. If you guys have missed prior meetings, thank you for coming out tonight, but, something that you triggered some thoughts, and I wanna make sure we're crystal clear about some things that are happening. This tire landfill is only one thing that's happening in our county. Guys, if y'all don't know what biosludge dumping is, and medical waste, those things are getting approved, Blount County is becoming the dumping ground, if y'all are not aware. And the reason that we are is because there's missing legislation, and there's surrounding counties around us, they've got legislation in place to keep happening in their county, and Blount County is wide open, and it's left to, and I'm gonna quote, administrative discretion. You know what that is? They can vote through, the legislation is missing, they can take it into consideration, they can pass it through. So, we don't want one county to become the dumping ground of biosludge, which is human waste. If you guys don't know what that is, you need to be finding out what it is. You'll go to our pages, you're gonna find out what that is.
It's bad.
Human waste. It's
Thank you,
properly treated
Kathy.
human waste, so those
Thank
are
you
the
for your
things.
additional comments, it's very important.
Sir?
I said, thank you for those thoughts.
Yes, sir.
please pick up pick up 2 letters. You send one, your spouse send one. We've got plenty.
By the way, before he starts, it's interesting to note that LaBella was a consultant for the medical waste company trying to come into the county. And it's my understanding, though I haven't confirmed it, that they were on retainer by the Blount County Commission. So,
They said they were.
what's going on here? Okay?
Well, first of all, I just wanna let y'all know that I'm not a public speaker. And I guess y'all all find that out if you will. But, Ms. Hoover, I think I might can answer some of your questions on dates.
Okay.
And what I'm here to talk about is our new well that we drilled a few years ago. And that has been in the making probably for 25 or 30 years. It's been on our side. It just come to reality back in 22 and 23. And we actually drilled the well over there in February of 23. And we did some pump tests, some small pump tests there at that time, and of course, I'm sure everybody's seen the well being drilled. And I think your date was, what, 23 that they filed for a waiver?
December the 19th of 2023, LaBella requested a waiver for the requirement of drilling groundwater wells.
Okay, they requested in December, we drilled a well in April, in February and April. So, and they seen what was going on. I mean, they seen the water we hid, and we think it's a pretty good site. And actually, we think it can be better, and we actually in the process of doing some more testing, pump testing, but we gotta get power there and a pump in the ground before we can actually, do our wellhead assessment on that area. But to do that, it was I just learned of Miss Hoover's homework here just a few days ago of the waiver that they requested. You know, and it's kind of funny that they would request that waiver after somebody hit water. You know, and that's one reason right now we need to speed it up, but actually we need to slow it down. Because if we go ahead and develop this and put it in operation, and then they do poison the water, the people of Cleveland cannot afford to clean that up.
You can't.
It's just not affordable. We've had other places in the state that's had that on surface water, and I don't know if you can pull that back up right there. The flood mount. But in her letter that she had done her homework found that from ADEM where they file that for a waiver, they even requested not to use the flow test or the water studies from January, I think it was, through April. That's the highest month they are. You know, so why would they not ask for those waivers? Because they know something's going to show up. And we have had a conversation, myself and the mayor had a conversation with them one day at our office, and we just point out blank acid. Okay, if something shows up in our water, will you pay to fix this? Will you put a bond up? Will you pay to fix this in the future if something happens? Well, they said no. Looks to me like if they so confident that there will be nothing in the water, that sure, they would surely put a bond, you would think, but they don't. And this right here where I think y'all pointed out the Cleveland well there, Zone A, is that right? Right. Yeah. Okay. Where they're talking about doing this is not on land that he owns. This is on land that he's rented or leased or going to lease. And that's way back up here. So when you get up in this area, and you're talking about all this right here be surface water on Andy Brown, this water, when they go to filling up and pushing and it rains, which way do you think it's going to go? It's going to go right back this way, and then hit the surface water that's going to go down. It's going to go right beside our well. Our well's probably, I'd say 200 to 300 feet at the most from Andy Brown. So that was our main concern is for the well. And that is in the possible aquifer for that well. But the scary part is our other two wells in the same aquifer. It's impossible. So, as somebody said a while ago, the hydrologist, when this underground water, it can go any direction. It's not got one direction to go. So we could be pumping it from our other two wells in the future, you know, if we have a problem. Who's to say if they have a problem? I know we asked about water tests. There's been no water tests at Hayden done that I know of until we asked. And then it come up, I think, in a court date over there in court that they had done a water test. Well, you can't tell by one test. You know, if they test like we do, you're going on a quarter for probably 2 years. Tested every quarter for 2 years. That way you got something to go by. If something does show up in the future. So come up with one test. The thing is, where they got in the hay there, where did they get it from? Was there somebody there around had a private well? Has anybody even seen that? Did you ever find that out from LaBella? What they?
Nothing other than what the report itself said.
Yeah, well, you know, that to me, I know I'm stickler about results, but you know, I would like to actually see where that was tested, who took it and where it was, because all that would have to be documented, or it would be if it was us. So that's something in the future that I know that can be looked at for them. I would think, especially with the county commission looking at it at some point in time with the judges to see that these water tests haven't been done, they haven't took this into consideration.
And what if something does happen? You know, who's gonna pay for it if it does?
That's a good
So-
question.
So that's all I got.
I've got a question for you.
Okay?
Have y'all done any of the pump testing
Yes.
necessary for the well?
Yes, we
What's
have.
the drawdown?
About 2 foot.
So you're in a, do you know what section of the
We're,
hospital you're in?
we're within we got a water level right now within 2 foot of the ground. Yes. We're cased down to about 80 feet, 90 feet. So all of our water.
When you go to optimal production for local water, how much water are you gonna be producing, do you think?
Well, we permitted right now for what we've actually tested at 56 gallon a minute, I think it is.
And that only pulls it down 8 feet?
Yeah, yeah. Now that could change. Well, that's what we wanna do. We wanna put it through another 150% test, whatever, hard test, and pump it, see how far it'll go. But that's in the very near future.
How many clay, or not clay, but how many coal seams did you pass through in your drill? I haven't had a chance to read
I
them.
don't think there's but one, two, there are two. Don't remember what the depth was, but the depth of wells, I think 180 feet, 170, something. Yeah.
Get you a copy of that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to, before if I do speak, I wanted to know what you've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Now, I know many of you here have not seen what we're talking about in person, so, when we went to see Adam in November, Scott and a friend of his did a drone shot of that entire cut so you could see what we're dealing with. And I'd like for him to just show you this, so you can go home knowing what you're dealing with here. This coal is from a Pennsylvanian formation in geologic time, okay? So the Pottsville was laid down 300 million years ago, initiated.
This is the area where it will start, where his application says he will start right here in this thing. I hope y'all can see the water. It's pretty dramatic. Wasn't that video taken in the middle of the drought? It was in the dead center of the drought.
The picture was in the Blood County this past week. Amy took off my cell phone, and you'll see a location.
So there's two land bridges that we're gonna take in with this drone footage to cross the other side. This is the first land bridge. And we're headed east, right? It's headed east, the drone footage.
His plan is to fill all of this with tires?
Eventually. We're approaching the backside of the multi-purpose center up here. This is where this is headed towards.
When did you say the footage was taken?
Last year. During the drought. When was that? August? July, August?
August or September.
Hold on a minute, I see a snail darter in there, that's not. Look,
Look, there's a lot of that.
I have a question that's a little, that was my first visit, but was the reclamation on this, strip mine done properly?
No. And all of you have heard of acid mine drainage, okay? When coal gets wet and is exposed to air, sulfuric acid can form, it leaches out, kills everything in the stream. There doesn't appear to be any life in this water. It's in contact with old coal, dynamited, drilled, and taken out of this cut.
To my knowledge, it hasn't been tested, but there's no wildlife in that water, there's no aquatic life
No reclamation.
that we can see. This is the area right back here where they're putting up the RV park. Right over here.
This is what your county commission thinks is appropriate here. Permit this.
Any questions on that? Y'all kind of get the gravity of what we're talking about on this amount of water that's gonna be pushing towards the Andy Ranch, towards the well, towards Dry Creek, as that cut's filled in with tires.
Okay.
And I will say this, I'll shut up. It won't be our generation that will know this. We won't be the ones probably exposed to this. It'll be our grandkids and our great-grandkids. That'll be the ones that go south and the tires are coming, that'll be the ones that have to pay for it.
Put the floodplain diagram back up. Any other questions before we ask Bob to address this a little bit? I know it's getting late.
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Why would our county commission accept this with all of this information? Is it this? Are they being paid off?
I didn't say that.
I know. I would like to know who all voted for that.
All but one.
I think we should, when it comes to election time, that this should be,
One of them's coming up this next month.
yeah, that's Chase.
If
Chase voted for it, yeah.
Alan Armstrong.
He's the only one. Chase, Alan's the only one that voted for it.
Yes, but Alan Armstrong is up for election this November to be reelected.
I'd like to thank y'all for the invitation to come to this meeting. I'm a professional geologist. My registration with the state of Alabama is 120. So that shows you how far I've been doing this. I've worked all over the United States in these kind of problems. And when Gene called me up and asked me to look at the permit application, and I looked at it, and then I said, well, interesting, but it doesn't tell me anything. And then I said, well, let me review the state rules on this. And I saw that. And one of the things that hadn't been said is the state rules on a landfill changes at the end of this year. And I can tell you right now, if he were to get permitted, he could make it in the time not to meet those requirements. So let's talk about this group. It seems like I'm preaching to the choir. Y'all already know most of the problems that go along with it. I researched the chemistry and how it affects people. It's not adults won't feel it that much, but the children. And if you have children or infants,
they're gonna be highly susceptible to the water. And it's gonna be very costly to test y'all's city water, and it needs to be tested very often. Now, is this a good place to place anything? It would be nice to have the mine reclaimed and made, because what's in there right now, and I've seen pictures of tires already being dumped in there from someone. The land, is my understanding, is in an estate. So the people that own the land, they're only interested in the money. I can tell you right now, they could care less about Blount County. Do I care about Blount County? My mother is a Hudson from around, Sneeds. So I have family invested in this county. So when Gene asked me to look at it, I looked at it and looked up some of the information, and one of the key areas that he wanted me to deal with was the geology and the groundwater of this area. And it's located, all of, the city is located, and this area isn't that far from the city limit, is between an anticline to the south and a syncline to the north. And what that means is, if I can show you, the top of the anticline is the hill, and all the structures of the Pottsville are bent. And on the bottom, on the north side, is a slope, and it's going in that direction down deep. One of the questions I had was to the gentleman here before was, how much water are we going to pull out of the well, and how far will you go it? Because that's going to create a cone that's going to pull the water toward, all water around it towards the well. It's got to go somewhere. Now, water flows in below this mine in the Pottsville Formation, which really, that's a misnomer. We don't need to be talking Pottsville Formation. We need to be talking the, give me a second, I got to come up with the word. The plateau section of the Pottsville. When you read the books, it's going to be talking about coal mine in the Warrior Basin, but we're not in the Warrior Basin. We're in the part of the Pottsville, and what it is it's the deeper rock, and that's, I've not seen any wells or drilling information that would indicate local. And the state of Alabama recognized that, and they changed the law and said to put a landfill in, you got to drill enough wells to see what the geology is doing. Because when the water moves down, it's going to flow along coal seams. And then below that, and we've got at least one coal seam that he named, so that's going to be one of the primary waters that's being pulled into the well. And it can come from south, north, east, or west. So that's the geology of it is just not appropriate. It's going to be pulling. The well will pull some water out of those creeks to begin with. So anything that doesn't make it down deep is going to end up in those streams, and they'll be pulled into it. I know he's talking flood zones, but there's still some streams there. And that's what you've got to look at. That's going to be affected. So all of this area is just not appropriate. It's too close to the town to begin with. Now, personally, I live in Mount Olive, just next to Gardendale. And we've got one of the big landfills to the north of me and to the south of me, and both of them pull in tires, and the tires are there is some bad stuff to begin with. They're a nationwide problem. The state of Georgia has already stopped letting new landfills be used. So Georgia's gonna appreciate any of y'all that come over here.
Yeah, they're already coming, already coming.
Exactly, exactly. As you can see, the area that's been mined, and the high wall is here, around the dark street, and all this other is landfill, and that's all coarse sand and rock and whatever debris they left. And that's already feeding into the stream, and like, remember, the streams are adding, will add to that well. I'm worried about the well as it is, much less putting in a tire, landfill. And I will answer any questions I can. The biggest issue is there's just not enough data to make this kind of a major decision.
I think you bring up the real point here is that, this location here is not a landfill location. Find something else that's dry. We don't need this much water surrounding it. And what Bob's talking about, that Kona depression from pumping, Cleveland's got, what, 2,500 residents, 3,000? This is a growing community. In no time at all, you're gonna have 10,000, or more than that, as people flock out to this county. So you're gonna, this additional stress on that well is gonna increase exponentially. When you start pulling that water up, the Kona depression means just what it sounds like, okay? You start pulling things into that well from all directions. And that's what's so dangerous and threatening to the residents, because if you're tied into that well, what Steve Pass is talking about, his hesitancy to tie it in is well founded. Because you could have people drinking some of this stuff and you wouldn't know about it for 6 months.
So could we compare that to letting the water out of the bathtub? Everything in the bathtub coming into that one drain?
Well, when you're pumping water out of the ground, you're pulling from other areas to
Yeah,
get that,
that's-
so, yeah.
I agree with you. That's a good example of what's going on, will go on.
Yeah.
Whether that landfill's there or not, that's going to go on.
Yeah.
So, you need to try to plan ahead how you're gonna develop your land around the Cleveland, but you need to look at what's already there and clean it up. And it would be beautiful if he could clean it up and get rid of the landfill. That's what he's interested in, the money, not making it nice. He's got other problems in the state of Alabama.
If that water gets in that, in the Cleveland well, it's gonna get in the wells, in the city water all the way down this whole thing, all the way, might go all the way to Mississippi.
And private
So,
wells, down
in private
wells.
May I point out something there on that?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I live in this area since '58. When all this mining was done, and Mr. Horton, he worked with them, he knew, all this was mine. From where he started, gonna start his dumping right here, the only one you guess is what, at least 3/4 of a mile further down, straight across that Gulf Strip, all the way over part of the Hayes Farm, right? That's at least 3/4 of a mile from here, on across the dirt road here at the Hazelwood Road, another 1/4 of a mile, almost another 1/2 mile, and they stripped that. We had good well waters down here, 55 and 56 feet deep. When they started blasting this, started drilling and blasting this, all of our wells, drill wells went bad. We got sulfur in it, and Mr. Hoover and him lived down on the flat down close to the river. They're still getting iron rusty water coming up on their property. That is showing you that water's going somewhere. It ain't gonna stay under where they put the tars. It's gonna travel the rock seams. All this base rock has been damaged from all that blasting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene, has there been any effort to really kind of go back to the reclamation of the coal site that could, just stop this?
Well, there's no money available in the state level to do this. Okay? Actually, this site damage beyond that. And
To do that would actually, like I said, I'd like to see it cleaned up, but you do more damage in trying to clean it up. That's the problem. I mean, and the final thing I'd like to say for myself is that, like I said, I was preaching to the choir. I can tell that most of y'all know exactly what's going on. Everything that I've done locally for this, I got online, and it's available to you, and I suggest you read it all. The state laws, the geology, and the geology information that they're using, is really old. I'm talking 1800s. So, we need a little bit of more current information. And I would not let anybody even consider it, and that's me. The state of Alabama requires more, and that's one thing that to keep in your mind is this court actions and stuff they're doing will probably last this year. So therefore his permit application was out to begin with. I mean, it was out the first day, and the county is only a gatekeeper. ADM is the one that's going to issue a permit that will let him actually move a truck on the ground, a bulldozer on the ground. And they will have their hearing if he files an application, and it'll be up to you to get involved with ADM. And in my meeting with Gene and the state of Alabama, they said, yes, we will let the public come in during that process. And so, you're up for your first battle, be ready for your second battle.
Good advice. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellamy.
Yeah.
One last thing before you go. The state of Alabama has a scrap tire group of regulations, okay? What Bob is saying about scrap tires is absolutely true. In 2024, there was a symposium in Atlanta, a scrap tire symposium that went through in detail, and I have a copy here, of all of the analytical that went into determining what's coming off these scrap tires. And I'm telling you, it'll raise the hair on the back of your neck, okay? I don't know if all of you, these compounds are so complicated and difficult and carcinogenic, okay, that it just makes you want to throw up. I don't know if y'all know what PFAS is. PFAS. Okay. The fancy name for it is polychlorinated alkyl compounds. They don't exist in nature. They don't exist. They're man-made, and if you remember back in the 50s and 60s, when the Teflon pans came out, those were the precursor chemicals to what they make now. These are highly carcinogenic chemicals. They're in these tires, a lot of them. And in the regulations that ADM has on their scrap tires, they're now beginning to require that these scrap tires be cut up before they're placed in the ground. Now think about that. What happens when you take a tire and cut it up, put it in? It increases the surface area that these acidic compounds can work on, so you get more stuff coming off. Okay? So it's a bad situation. ADM needs to go back and correct that. But in any event, you've got a lot of information thrown at you today. If there's any questions that you need answered, I'll be happy to, through Scott, through Kathy, through Diane, technical issues or whatnot, but let's work together and stop this thing.
Let me tell you something else, it's talking about Georgia, rocking tires down over there. You know, one of the biggest reasons, there was a big tire dump over there caught on fire, and burnt for years and years and years, and they said you couldn't even hardly drive down the road. And they can't put it out, it's gonna burn it long time. So that's one of the reasons Georgia stopped.
Yeah. Can't even long deal. so much for coming tonight.
Again, please, pick up a postage pay envelope